Good morning, afternoon and evening, depending on what part of the world you're dialing in from. I'm James Price, the sales specialist for Project and Visio for Southeast Asia. As you probably know, Microsoft leads the way with project and project collaboration tools, and our cloud offering is Project Online, which gives you all the benefits that you would expect from a top project management solution without the hassle of looking after and maintaining the infrastructure. One of the key component parts of the application is portfolio management, the ability to be able to align projects with the strategies of your business and then prioritize those projects. UMT360 is built on this to give you more added value in this field. UMT360 is a Microsoft Gold Partner and was named Microsoft Project and Portfolio Management Partner of the Year 2013 and was a finalist in 2014. UMT360 transforms how companies manage enterprise investments. PMO, IT, business and finance leaders trust UMT360 enterprise portfolio management solutions to effectively bridge the gap between execution and strategy. I'm pleased to introduce today's speaker, Ben Chamberlain, UMT360's Chief Product and Marketing Officer. Ben's responsible for the strategic direction and worldwide go-to-market activities for UMT360's enterprise portfolio management solutions. He has more than a decade of experience of building innovative portfolio management solutions that have helped global 2,000 companies align investment decisions with strategic priorities across product, project, applications, and IT service portfolios. Over to you, Ben.
Thank you very much, James, and hello everyone. So I'm excited today to present today's subject, Unlock the Strategic PMO inside of Microsoft Project Online and Project Server with UMT360. So if we look at the agenda for the next 30 minutes or so, we're going to take a look at what's wrong with traditional PPM and why organizations are turning to enterprise portfolio management, and specifically look at two key steps we see traditional PMOs taking to become more strategic in their focus. There's not going to be a huge amount of time today, but I wanted to spend at least 50% of the time taking a look at how UMT360 seamlessly extends Microsoft Project to provide an integrated financial capabilities across the traditional PPM lifecycle, and then end with a getting started and Q&A. That being said, there is going to be a Q&A session at the end of today's presentation, so please use the Q&A wizard in GoToMeeting to ask any questions, and we'll happy get them at the end of the session. So let's jump in. James already gave a great overview of who we are, but just to build on that, we're seen as leaders in enterprise portfolio management, and we're really helping organizations transform the way they manage their enterprise investments, giving business and IT leaders the insight and transparency needed to better align execution with strategy. And we're doing that by digitalizing investment planning and controls across both business and technology portfolios, giving that strategic insight and transparency needed to improve investment decisions. You see some of the accolades that we've received over the years. Gartner voted us as a cool vendor specifically for how we can integrate financial management best practices across the traditional PPM lifecycle. We're also seen by Gartner as a visionary in the world of integrated IT portfolio analysis. We're placed in their magic quadrant and really flying the Microsoft banner within that quadrant. And that's really an area which helps you better integrate projects, applications, IT service portfolios to get full transparency across all IT spend and all IT activities. And as James mentioned, we've a long partnership with Microsoft and been seen as Microsoft's worldwide PPM Partner of the Year twice in the last 4 years. So I often get asked the question, why are organizations looking to adopt and investing in enterprise portfolio management? At the kind of 200,000 foot level, it really comes down to doing a better job of aligning execution with strategy. Today, many executives really question their company's ability to effectively deliver on their strategies and acknowledge the fact that failure to implement strategic initiatives will impact the competitiveness of their organization over the next 3 years. Here you see some stats coming from different industry analysts. So David Norton, the founder of the Balanced Scorecard, said that 85% of companies fail to deliver on their strategies. In their report, Why Good Strategies Fail, the Economist Intelligence Unit said 61% of companies struggle to bridge the gap between strategy and formulation of its execution, its day-to-day execution, and 44% of strategic initiatives have been unsuccessful on average. The impact of this is pretty clear. By suboptimal project selection and poor execution of your initiatives, you're really not only just wasting scarce and precious resources and budget in the organization, you're also hindering business transformation and performance of your organization. So when I think about PPM, project and portfolio management is a discipline that many organizations have invested in over the last 2 decades or so to do a better job of aligning execution with strategy, selecting the right projects and delivering those projects effectively. But today, too many organizations are still focused on what I consider traditional PPM, or more execution-orientated PPM capabilities, and they're simply failing to deliver the anticipated results. The analysts that are responsible for the stats you see here on the left-hand side, they don't necessarily all agree on the exact stats, but there is consensus there's an overarching problem, whether it's failure rates, challenge rates, cost overruns. From our research into PPM, and we've been in this space now for about 2 decades or so, our surveys show that today organizations are simply at risk of losing around 46% of the planned business value from their project and program portfolios. Or another way to look at that is that 46% of the investment in these portfolios is at risk. Now, it's easy to throw a bunch of numbers out there, but let's take a look at how that value can be eroded from your portfolios. It's something we like to call the trifecta of business value erosion, and we could spend pretty much the whole session on this slide, so I'll rattle through it. The first is unreliable planning and innovation. Still, too many organizations lack an objective way of selecting projects for the upcoming year, still relying on the shiniest PowerPoint or the person that shouts the loudest to get projects funded. If you lack an objective framework, then obviously the projects that are funded for the year are probably going to be suboptimal from a business value point of view. Even when you've invested in sort of thoroughbred pedigree portfolio selection techniques, inflated cost estimates still cause major problems. If you're overestimating your projects early in their life, the chances are when you come to optimize the portfolio under tight budget constraints, you leave too many good projects behind. And without ability to reverse those decisions throughout the year, something we call dynamic planning, that value will remain lost and never realized. So that's the first area. The next is poor project success rates. Simply failure to implement projects. If you fail to deliver a project or implement a project, you can't claim the value, so that value is lost. Again, cost overruns cause a problem. At the portfolio level, budget is finite, so if projects cost more than expected, something has to give. You're going to de-scope projects, you're not going to do projects that were planned for the year, ultimately impacting the overall planned business value for that portfolio at large. The one that was the most surprise to me when we conducted this research about 3 years ago was budget utilization, with all too many companies today failing to utilize all their budget throughout the year. And there's a variety of reasons for this. This could be things like resource shortfalls, making it difficult to tee up all projects that were planned for the year. Things like unplanned carryovers, projects that slip from one planning year to another planning year, and you don't realize the value within the initial planning year. And worse still, you take money away from the next planning year. But the overarching culprit for budget utilization is poor forecasting capabilities, with all too often project managers holding money hostage at the project level and not allowing the sort of portfolio visibility for that money to be reallocated dynamically throughout the year to optimize spend and maximize ROI from the portfolio. So these are sort of 3 areas which are causing that 46% in value erosion. One of the big problems, as I mentioned already, is that a lot of traditional PMOs have been too focused for too long on managing the execution activities in project and resource management. Now, and that includes obviously resource management, schedule management, timesheeting. Now, I'm not downplaying the importance of these activities. All I am saying is we have to also recognize the fact that at their core, projects are business investments, and the PMO needs to take the strategic responsibility for treating them as such and optimizing spend and maximizing the value from these important investments. And there are kind of 2 key steps we see in a traditional PMO becoming more of strategic in focus, and we're going to focus on the first one today. The first is integrate financials. So having got a base level of execution under their belt, being able to integrate financial management across the PPM lifecycle, something we call integrated investment planning controls, almost become the CFO of your project and program portfolios. And having done that, the next step is to connect portfolios, something we refer to as enterprise context, which is simply acknowledgement of the fact that projects don't exist in a vacuum. They're investments that impact other portfolios. To onboard a new application or IT asset, onboard a new product, enhance an existing product. And by understanding those connections, you get greater enterprise visibility and insight across all portfolios. And as a PMO, can take responsibility for managing all spend, not just discretionary spend, visibility across all portfolio activities, not just the project and program. But as I said, today the primary focus is on how to integrate financial management capabilities or investment planning controls across the traditional PPM lifecycle, again becoming the CFO of your project and program portfolios. So this slide kind of articulates how that occurs and how UMT360 is seamlessly extending Microsoft Project Online and Project Server to provide those integrated investment planning and controls. So it starts off on the upfront kind of strategy phase with the ability to break down and articulate a portfolio hierarchy and record true top-down enterprise budgets at varying levels within that hierarchy. Could be by department, could be by portfolio, program, and then reconcile with the bottom-up budgets coming from the underlying projects. Obviously, capturing project requests in the demand management phase of a project's life is critical. And with UMT360, you get integrated cost and benefit analysis within the demand management infrastructure of Project Server, and we provide additional metrics and scoring mechanisms to help you effectively compare and contrast your competing investments. That feeds seamlessly into the portfolio optimization capabilities of Project Server 2013 or Project Online to help you analyze and select the upcoming projects for the upcoming year. With UMT360, it supports all organizational budgeting and funding approvals. And that takes you into the execution or manage phase. What we tend to see with many PMOs that it still is a logistical nightmare to complete status reports across in-flight projects. UMT360 automates status reporting from a financial perspective, allows you to import actuals from your ERP system like SAP, Oracle Financials, and others, and reforecast remaining costs and automate and derive variance metrics. If the project requires more funding, or by the same self-token you want to give money back to be released and reinvested across the portfolio, there's a change request mechanism that allows you to request more money and govern that process. Although I don't think we're going to have too much time to look at it in detail today in the demo, that then fuels a dynamic planning methodology, which basically recognizes the frailty in annual planning and simply gives you a mechanism throughout the year to look at understanding the economic impact of poor project performance and then dynamically reallocate funds across the portfolio. So understand when to double down and invest more in existing projects, or when to bring in net new projects throughout the year to do two things: look at optimizing spend and maximizing the overall value from the portfolio. Of course, it doesn't end there. If we've invested time to build a business case for a project, it's only right that we should circle back after the project's complete and establish a benefits realization framework to actually measure the actual results. Now, one of the reasons that organizations have struggled over the years to integrate investment planning and controls across the traditional PPM lifecycle is a reliance, quite honestly, on inadequate tools. Excel has been used forever and still is for managing project and program and portfolio financials. It's a great tool, as we all know, but some of the problems is that it's disconnected. It's difficult to then govern the completion of the data, potentially error prone. Often organizations rely too much on ERP systems. Now, of course, the ERP system will always remain the financial system of record, and certainly gives the finance teams the views that they need to manage their book of business, but doesn't always present the information in the way the PPM teams need to effectively make decisions and manage project program and portfolio financials. For example, forecasting historically has been a weakness in the ERP system. And again, traditional PPM tools like Microsoft Project, they grew up as exceptionally strong schedule management, resource management systems, but lack the financial management sophistication needed to manage project and programs effectively from a financial perspective. So what UMT360 is endeavoring to do in this particular situation is reduce our reliance on Excel and bridge the gap between ERP systems, in this case Microsoft Project Server and Online, to seamlessly integrate investment planning controls across that traditional PPM lifecycle. And this will really be the focus of the demonstration today. We'll probably just take a look at what it looks like to build a robust business case, and also look at some of the financial tracking capabilities, just to give you a flavor of how well integrated, both from a UI and data perspective, 360 is with Microsoft Project. But before we jump into that demo, we'll pause for the only poll of today. Question being, which tools do you rely on today to manage your project and portfolio financials? So the poll is being shared, and I think I can see it, maybe. The questions are: we rely too much on Excel. We utilize the out-of-the-box capabilities of Project Server. That includes custom fields to a degree, and Excel services, web parts, etc. We rely on an ERP system for financials. We have a custom-built solution, or none of the above. So we rely too much on Excel. We utilize the out-of-the-box capabilities of Project Server, custom fields, talking about Project Server versus Project Pro here. We rely on ERP systems for finance. We have a custom-built solution. So pause for another 5 seconds or so. I think we can share the results if I can see them. Okay, I may not see, James, if you can see the exact numbers, it would be helpful. I don't see the exact numbers in my screen. So
okay, so we rely too much on Excel, 56%. We utilize the out-of-the-box capabilities. We rely on ERP systems for the financials, 22%. With custom-built solutions, 0, and none of the above, 11%. So really, Excel's the one.
Yeah, and no real surprise there. So what we tend to see, and what I said earlier, is we're looking to bridge the gap between, or reduce reliance on Excel and bridge the gap between Project Server and the PPM tool is exactly why we built the solution and is relevant as the survey results show. So with that in mind, I think we can switch back to the slides. And let me just... Okay, so hopefully you're seeing the slides now. Next step is to jump into a demonstration. Again, this is a short and sweet session today, so I'm going to keep the demo to the next 10 minutes or so we stay within the 30 minutes allotted. So that being said, let's bring the demonstration environment up. What you're seeing here is UMT360 on top of a Project Server 2013 environment. 360 integrates with 2010, 2013, and of course, as James mentioned, the new Office 365 version of Project, which is Project Online. So again, we're going to focus in really on the ability to build stronger business cases within Project in the demand management phase, and time permitting, look at how we can automate status reporting. So I'll start just with some of the integrated dashboard views you get out of the box, and work our way down to a project record in Project Server. This investment planning dashboard is used to answer 2 questions: what budget's available, and once we know what budget's available, which projects potentially could we invest in from the pipeline. So we're seeing here that we have have true top-down budgets. I said we could manage top-down budgets in the tool at different levels in the portfolio hierarchy. A top-down budget of $12 million here. I have $6 million of projects in flight, committed, so these are already in flight, which gives me around $5.9 million remaining. But yet I have $11.5 million worth of projects that are vying for inclusion for that 5.9 million. And what this dashboard is telling me at this stage is if I was to invest that 5.9 million, I can get 88% of the overall value, what we call strategic yield, from this planned set of projects. At this level, we can see where the money is hanging out by line of business, by types of projects in project server, by governance phase, etc. But if I drill down, we can take a look at how these projects have been prioritized on their strategic yield, strategic value divided by its cost, bang for the buck, simply showing us here a stack rank of the projects by yield, and where the shading runs out here shows me which projects are potentially above the line or included, or which projects are below the line or excluded from the portfolio. All the other metrics you see here are coming from the integrated business case. So if strategic yield is not your default prioritization schema, maybe you're going to look at NPV or other financially orientated metrics and see where the line draws. With 360, we like to say that you're already one click away from any information about the project. So we can prioritize in this case or select based on strategic yield, and then very quickly understand from the selected portfolio what benefits or what's the overall benefits that should be delivered. So ability to now drill down based on how you define the benefit structures, revenue growth, expense reduction by year. It's all in these integrated views. So that being said, let's now drill down and take a look at one of these investments or projects that's just included in the portfolio. You're going to get an integrated business case report. Again, this is just summarizing some of the financial aspects, looking at cost, benefits, standardized financial metrics, survey scores around value, yield, which is value divided by cost, risk, and then overall priority score. We can also see very quickly who's funding this project through allocation centers, and in turn who's accruing the benefits from the project, as well as cumulative cost, benefit, and payback periods. Conscious I'm not showing you anything that's too mind-blowing at this stage, but if we drill down within the project record now, you're seeing how UMT360 renders itself seamlessly within Project Server. So this is the project record in Project Server, but yet you're probably going to recognize the project details, the schedule, PDPs, but the rest of the information here is coming natively from UMT360, so it's a seamless experience to the end user. Very difficult to see where Project Server stops and 360 starts. The workflow visualization here coming from 360. The ability to be able to take the standard details page in Project Server and put it on steroids, so we can add conditional logic and validation rules to make these forms more dynamic. So if I switch from operations to finance here, I'm forced to add a funding source, or if I go from a new investment to the worst case scenario unplanned carryover, I'm forced to add a justification, presenting the right information to the user at the right time. A small feature, but one that carries a significant punch. Now, if I look at integrated cost and benefit analysis, like I said, we're looking to try and move people away from a reliance on Excel and integrate the estimating capabilities within your planning and execution system. So the ability here to come in and capture a cost breakdown at the level of detail you require. Here we're requesting information by quarter and at level 2 in the cost structure, but I can drill down and capture more information. Super easy to come in here and enter cost information or integrate with the schedule or the resource plan in Project Server to automatically pull in the resource costs into the grid too. Multi-currency fully supported as well, and the ability to break down the cost of the project and understand which organizational units are funding the project. IT in this case, finance, operations are all funding the project to a degree. So cost information and benefit information, so ability to define a benefit structure, capture the benefit information at the right level of detail again by year and level 3 here, and that's going to help us build out our integrated cost benefit analysis. With the UMT360 survey engine as well, the ability to standardize different assessment scores and surveys. Here's an example of a risk assessment based on a risk survey, automatically deriving a risk score. this project is actually going to onboard and implement a new IT asset. So we're taking the opportunity here to do an enterprise architectural assessment of that asset through the survey engine and score that. We're also leveraging the strategic impact survey within our solution that includes the business drivers in Project Server. And the benefit of this survey is we automatically derive a strategic value score for the project that's going to live with the project through its life, and we use in the evaluation of that project in the upfront funding and ongoing evaluation of that project. Huge amount to go through, and I'm conscious I'm just scratching the surface. So I'm hoping you're seeing the hallmarks of a good business case here. I also have the ability to associate this project with an overarching program, and 360 provides full program management capabilities on top of Project Server 2. So one last point to make here, another feature which carries a big punch is the ability to snapshot, keep auditable records of the financial information and metrics at different decision points, compare and contrast those snapshots or versions of the business case as you progress through the life of the project. So I gave you an insight into how you can build a stronger business case of integrated cost and benefit analysis in Project Server. Let's take a look at what happens in the execution of projects. So I'm actually going to switch gears and look at an overarching dashboard, which is looking now just at projects that are in flight. Again, a portfolio level view here, looking at the overall variance. So we're automating status reporting across in-flight projects, looking at budget, forecast, and deriving a variance, both from bottom up, this is just the bottom up sum of all committed projects, versus top down, comparing the allocated budgets that have been allocated per department. Now, of course, you're going to expect to see cumulative budget, actuals, and forecast. Here, simply showcasing the fact there's a budget utilization issue. Forecast is less than plan, so we may want to start to look at how we're going to reallocate. We look to automate status reporting on top of the projects in Project Server, and this is one of the views that we derive. This is simply a variance view. The first grouping of projects here are over budget, forecast greater than plan, and we're going to make decisions. Are we going to give them more money? Are we going to de-scope? It's also important to look at the projects that are forecasting an underrun, because we want to release money quickly from these projects and then understand how we should reinvest. Should we reinvest in existing projects, or should we bring in net new projects to maximize the value from the portfolio? Again, that's part of our dynamic planning module. We're not going to have time to look at that today. But if I drill down within the project that's running the most over budget, we can see an integrated dashboard which is pulling together both the financial information with the other execution-oriented metrics from Project Server, schedule, resource, etc. We can see here that this project is 32% over budget, and it's negatively impacted my strategic yield, yield being that investment barometer for a project. The cost increased, the value stayed the same, the yield score degrades, acts as that early warning indicator or a metric a kind of CFO would use to understand the investment viability of this particular project has changed. So you have all the information, both more execution-orientated and financial information around the project. Now, if we drill down into the project record itself, you can see we're further on in the project's life cycle. We're now in the execution stage, and we can now start to look at tracking financial information. So budgets have been locked dynamically. Now we can look at integrating actual costs from the ERP system. So the ability here to open up the open status report, in case we're in July 2014 here, run the ERP sync to pull in the actuals for the current period, update the forecast information, and this can be done dynamically through the schedule for the future periods, which is going to give me my remaining costs, and that's how we derive the variance analysis. Once the PM is complete with that status report, simply going to submit it into the system. The PMO is notified they've completed that status report. As this project was running over budget, I also have the ability, which I'm not going to have time to show you today, to raise change requests and have those change requests routed for approval. In fact, this is the last thing I will show you. So I'm simply going to cheat and create a new change request by copying my forecast costs to my budget table and try and overwrite my budget. The tool's going to say there's no way I'm going to let you do that. I'm going to create a change request on your behalf and have that routed for approval. So a change request is raised with the delta in terms of the additional funds that are required. this change request is raised, we can drill down and learn more about it, see who's down to approve. If approved, the budget will be updated. So conscious that we're close to time, so just going to return back to the slides. But out of that demo flow, what I hope you saw, although it was short and sweet, I hope you saw the ability to build what I would consider a world-class business case within the project server environment, and also the ability to integrate and automate status reporting with a heavy focus in this case on financial status reporting. We didn't get a chance to look at how we can then generate insight to help dynamically reallocate funds or even go beyond the life of the project to establish a benefits realization framework. But the key takeaway, at least I'm hoping I'm leaving you with here, is it is possible to integrate financial management capabilities across the PPM lifecycle. And with UMT360, the end user doesn't even know it's not project server. It's so well integrated, both from a UI and data perspective. So two more slides, and then we'll pause for questions. So we often get asked, how do we go from here? And it always, as with anything, a phased approach yields results. It can be implemented in different ways, but it starts really by establishing those investment planning controls across the PPM lifecycle. That's standardizing cost structures, standardizing benefit structures, deriving the rules that are going to be integrated across the PPM lifecycle. Having done that, we look to automate the data feed, so look to integrate with ERP systems so that we have data integrity between the two environments, and then automate the reporting. What that does is takes away the time from the PMO that they normally dedicate to manually reconciling information and building reports. We want them to be more focused on analyzing the portfolio and taking action. That leads into our dynamic reallocation approach, insight that helps you reallocate funds to optimize spend and maximize value. And then you can look to onboard techniques to track actual benefits and drive greater accountability across stakeholders. And what we see, organizations that have implemented investment planning controls across PPM on average get 20% greater ROI from their project portfolios. Up front, I said that you were at risk of losing around 46% of the planned business value. You are still going to lose value. There's still going to be projects that fail. But ultimately, managing projects more as business investments, knowing when to de-scope, knowing when to invest in more in existing versus bringing in net new projects is going to help you be more dynamic and realize more value from those project investments throughout the year. And again, on average, 20% more. So I'm not sure if we're going to have the survey today, but what I would encourage you to do over the next 30 days or so is, if we are going to run the survey, then please take the strategic PMO assessment survey if the link is posted over the next 7 days or so. Go back to your work and take a look at how well integrated financial management is in your organization. Again, a bunch of you said 56% said they're using Excel. A few ERP systems, some none at all. So there's obviously room for improvement to integrate financial management with Project Server and your PPM tool. And over the next 30 days or so, feel free to contact UMT360. Happy to set up virtual envisioning workshops where we step through approaches to integrate investment planning controls with Project Server, and take that sort of one step on the journey to claiming back some of the lost value in your project and program portfolios. So with that being said, I know we're about a couple of minutes over. I want to thank you for your time today. If there are any questions, please use the Q&A wizard to ask them. If you want to reach out to UMT360, please do. You see my email here, ben.chamberlain@umt360.com. Happy to answer any questions you may have. So I'll pause there, see if there are any questions. I'm not sure if you received any, Paul.
Yeah, hi Ben. Look, thank you very much indeed for that. I found that very enlightening, and so pity I can't hear more from you on this. Just a quick question: where does risk come into all of this in terms of parts of business strategy? do you put the risk in the actual decision drivers?
Yeah, it comes
to
in multiple areas. Good question. So I flashed up, although we were moving at the speed of light there, I think, I flashed up a risk assessment survey. So obviously, we're not replacing the kind of risk management capabilities that come native in Project Server. You're still going to be able to raise your risks and mitigate those risks in the traditional manner. We are providing techniques to derive additional risk scores at different stages in the project life, which factors into an overall prioritization score, or simply allows you to build views that bubble chart views and similar that are going to be able to put a side-by-side comparison of value versus risk and other ways you want to see the information. So in addition to what Proj does out of the box with risk logs, we provide different risk scores that can be derived in the system.
Okay. Any other questions?
Doesn't look like.
No other questions today.
All right. Paul, did we get any feedback from the replies on the Q&A?
No other questions.
No. Okay then. All right. Well, look, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for your time. Ben, that was great. And you've got Ben's contact details if you'd like to try and follow this up, and strongly advise that you do follow those 3 steps that Ben suggested earlier on. Many thanks for your time, and enjoy the rest of the morning, afternoon or evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much.